So this motherfucking medication, right? This magical medication that keeps him alive through everything.
Oh yeah, it's a combination
So
of
many.
painkiller and I don't know, chemotherapy stopper? What the hell exactly is it?
I wish I could tell you I've gone through 5 years of biomedical engineering training in my years at college, and you know what that served me? It has made me mad. I am so mad against the crimes committed against the science and engineering communities that have occurred in the past hour and a half.
You know what? I figured it out. No. Those were homeopathic pills. They were just placebos, and he was such a strong super character that he was able to focus so strong. He's like, these will work, nom, and they did. He was fighting with a knife wound and all kinds of other stuff. Oh, the crimes against reality committed by this movie. We need to bring it up on charges.
Welcome to the Tuesday Movie Show. I'm Rob, this is Adam, and that's Ryan, and this week we saw Elysium, which we were all genuinely excited about.
Yeah.
From
Matt Damon,
I thought was going to be a big draw. The trailers for this movie looked pretty awesome. Guy from District 9 was attached to it. And they took a lot of the visual elements that made District 9 so compelling and then failed to shoot many of them very well.
Yeah.
Just to recount a few what-the-fuck moments, and just to go over the ground rules really quickly, because I'm about to jump into some spoilers. We don't care about spoilers on this show. Things will be spoiled. If you don't want to see spoilers, go see the movie first. Come back, watch this.
this is a critique.
Yes. Now that that's out of the way, the scene where our, I guess, main bad guy, it kind of flips at the end.
Yeah.
Our main bad guy, Kruger,
I think.
Our main bad
Something
guy,
like
Kruger,
that.
is walking down a hallway, and there's all these flashing lights, and there's sparks going off everywhere, and it's this weird low-angle shot, and it goes from like this to like this, and he's just shouting. The man doesn't go like this, but the frame just tilts.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
All
And
right,
he's like,
while-
I'll find you!
While we're on the topic of cameras,
And it made no sense.
While we're on
it came
topic-
it came out of nowhere. Yeah.
cameras, when they were in, there was like two specific camera pans or like movements during the fight scenes in it. Two of which of them, I'm like, oh god, what are you doing? Because they're like kind of watching the Matt Damon go forward. They swoop off to the left violently, and then they shift back to the right or something.
Oh, so
It's like they took the Battlestar Galactica camera and applied it to a melee combat scene.
Exactly. Oh my! And I was watching. I'm like, oh god, I feel sick now.
So,
Oh.
I know exactly the technique that you're talking about, and it's actually an interesting camera technique. Or rather, not a camera technique, but it's something that you touch up with software later. So you identify one point in space, and usually when you have a scene where there's a bunch of stuff shifting around and rotating, this point will be shifting around and rotating as well. But you use a bigger shot than you need. You capture a smaller area, and that allows you to affix one point in space as the rest of the scene moves around it.
Yeah.
Here,
But they didn't do that. That fixed point slid across the screen,
Sideways.
moved. It's like they
So,
took that little box in this big shot and then moved it.
Anyway, if anyone wants to see a really good use of this technique, Mystery Guitar Man has a video that employs it. I'll try to find a link to it and put it below, because it is interesting. And if you want to see it done in an interesting and fun way, you can go and see that video and not go and see Elysium.
If you ask me, the climactic fight between Kruger and Matt Damon, I don't even remember what Max was his name. Kruger and Max, the climactic fight where they're fighting on that bridge for some reason. It felt to me like the choreography was so poor that they had to make up for it with shitty camera work. Like they edited the camera work to make it harder to follow the fight because it was bad choreography. Because I was watching it and I'm like, I've seen good fight scenes. The camera insists on moving every time there's an interesting action about to happen so that I don't get to see it.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that shooting action is difficult.
Yeah.
And it doesn't excuse the budget for this movie was over $100 million. And for a movie with that kind of budget, you should be able to find a guy who can choreograph your fights better.
Yes.
I would really hope so.
There were these really atonal moments that really It's if you've ever been hearing a piece of music and then somebody strikes a key that's just totally wonky, and it just you go bleh, that they did the movie equivalent of that in the same scene on the bridge that Bridger is talking about. Adam's talking about. So here's the bridge. You got little guys running this way, and then Kruger jumps over them, and the camera pans way back for the first time in the movie, and you get like a couple seconds of the top of the arc as Kruger's jumping over them.
Yeah.
And it was suddenly like it went from District 9 to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in a second.
But even then, a movie like that would have at least filmed the action so that way you could see what is happening.
Yeah.
That in good action movies,
it-
they pan the camera so that way you can see what they're doing to each other.
Yes.
Instead of like, oh man, here's a mangle of people that are grabbing each other.
It was always so
metal.
zoomed in.
And you're like, I guess they're touching each other.
So-
They might have ill intention.
So to get off general critiques for a second, because we're trying to keep the time down on these recently, we're going to try to go in order of the plot as fast as we can to see if there are any things that we missed, because otherwise I know I'm going to skip over elements that I wanted to mention. So the movie starts with our main character Max as a child, and you get the very quick setup that Earth is a ghetto, Elysium is this awesome place where there are these med pods that can fix anything. Somebody gets his face blown off, and they go, brain's still good, and they rebuild his face.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
He's not dead yet. We can fix that.
Yes. He's only nearly dead.
It definitely brings a new meaning to the
I
word
thought
flesh
I
wounds.
thought they brought him back from the dead because his brain was still intact. It was hard to tell.
I don't know. It reminded me of the Princess Bride, though.
Nah.
He's only mostly dead.
Yes.
Not the same as all dead.
So anyway, they show a little backstory with Matt Damon and Frey, the
yep.
love interest. I was very impressed that they did not like descend into a sex scene or some stupid love thing. Like it felt very real.
Their whole thing is based on the childhood friendship.
Right.
That's what ties it all together.
And it was clear he wanted to get back in touch with her, but they didn't like stop the like grind the main plot to a halt in order to have this romance on the side, which was good because that wasn't the focus of the movie. But so many movies do get bogged down in that, so I think that's one thing the movie did right.
Yes, and I'm gonna say that the first third of this movie really had me.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the start of this, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do this. And then they got to the part where they strapped like the body armor onto him, or the exoskeleton.
Exosuit. What
and then
the-
from there on, the movie was ruined for me.
It's like they gave up at that
From like
point.
at that exact moment,
That's when the movie jumps the shark.
I'm like, okay, what just happened?
So,
Excuse me.
So we see Max as an adult. He's in line to get on a bus to go to work, and we get that him having a job is not something normal for his neighborhood. People are kind of teasing him for it, like, oh, look, there
You work hard.
there goes the guy who works 9 to 5. Or probably 9 to 9 with no
With no benefits, working $5 an hour.
Yeah. And we got our first glimpse of these robots that are really cool.
Yep.
I like a lot of the technology in this movie because it's either like it kind of feels like was it Big Dog or the other robot that they're these amazing videos. Again, we're on the YouTubes. You can find them.
Oh, the
Yeah,
ones,
yeah, yeah.
the military ones.
Yes,
the
the-
actual real robot that they've made that can walk and stuff.
Yeah,
right.
The way that these things maneuvered reminded me a lot of that, and I think there were a lot of times where these robots were practical effects, and when you needed them to move a lot, they were CG'd, but it was very good CG, and the parts of it where they were practical and you could see stuff moving around, it was very cool. That stuff was very District 9 feeling. Like the smart use of practical effects for future-looking technologies.
Right.
That was neat. And then it breaks Matt Damon's arm.
Yeah, that seemed like completely unnecessary as
Yeah,
well.
So apparently robots don't get humor at all.
But they get sarcasm. Remember later they get
yeah,
sarcasm.
Yeah. So,
No, it's like they like
so
randomly applied the sarcasm like module in all of these, and only certain ones of them get
never
it.
the humor module.
Never.
So
But it doesn't matter if they get the humor module. Nothing he was doing was resisting. Like it seems like that was entirely shoved in there for the plot. It didn't feel real
Yeah.
at all.
So here's what Matt
For
did.
the plot needs his arm to be broken. He needs to still look like the good guy, like he wasn't doing anything wrong, but he has to get his arm broken anyway.
Wait, why does he need to get his arm broken?
So he can beat Frey again. So anyway, here's what Matt Damon does. Matt Damon has a backpack going to work. One of the robots is like, "You have a criminal past. Let me see what's in that bag." And Matt Damon's bald in this movie, and he goes, "Hair care products."
And he's bald, yeah.
Yes. To which
I thought you said bold.
And I was like, that's, I guess, kind of funny. And then the robot breaks his arm for it.
Yeah.
Because robots don't get humor.
I was just thinking to myself, wow, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Like, he went from hair care products, and they go, they basically, like, were... You are not cooperating? And he's like, no, it was a joke. Look, and he tries to turn and give them the bag, and instead they break his arm. Like, what? He's been cooperating the whole time. Didn't make sense. So he gets to the job. The boss is clearly an asshole, but he works for an asshole, so it's not his boss's fault. It's like they've taken humanity back to the time before unions.
He meets love interest again for like a second.
Yeah, love interest is involved in there for a second. We learn about her daughter a little bit. She's dying. We get back to the factory. We realize more about his criminal past when we meet his friend. I don't remember what the friend's name was. Julio. We meet Julio. Clearly, these guys are best buds, and they look out for each other back in the day. Then we get to the setup, which is him getting caught in the radiation.
Yes. So there's apparently really...
Yeah, I guess they don't get humor either.
Yeah, no. So, so there's no safety standards at this guy's job, and because of severe overpopulation, I guess the idea is supposed to be that his boss can hire somebody off the street in 5 seconds if he doesn't want to do his incredibly dangerous job.
Right.
So there's a furnace where they cure these robots with radiation in the factory that Matt Damon works at. The door gets stuck, and his boss goes, "Step inside that radiation chamber and unstick it." And Matt Damon's like, "But can we not do that?" And the guy goes, "God damn it, Damon, get in there.
I'll go find somebody who will."
Yeah. And he gets severely irradiated.
5 days to live.
Yes. He gets dragged into a medical bay, given pills by that robot was funny.
It was a funny robot.
Yeah, there was like a robot doctor who would just say these terrible things in the most matter-of-fact... It's like, imagine the worst bedside manner you could program into a robot. And that's what this robot
You have been given a lethal dose of radiation. You have 5 days to live.
Sign
here for medicine.
And then he picks up his arm and he's like, "Give me medicine." And then the robot goes, "This medicine will keep you normal until you die in 5 days."
And then it just plops out of his chest. Like the medicine, they just put it down, just boom, just throws it on the bed.
Yeah. Medicine dispensed. Must go be condescending to more humans.
So at this point, he goes back to the block. Because I assume he lives on the block. We skipped a part where the humans try to get up to Elysium.
Oh yeah, right.
They
get shot down by the crazy bitch up there.
That sets up the whole
by female Hitler.
By female Hitler.
By female space Hitler. Yes. So female space Hitler shoots down
two of these
3 ships that are trying to get up to Elysium, and it shows that these refugees are constantly launching ships at Elysium to break into rich people's houses and use their med pods.
Yeah, they're miracle med devices that can fix everything.
But you know what? It doesn't make any sense. So they're going up there with the idea that if I get in this med pod and get cured, all they're going to do is send me back to Earth and at least I'll live. If you didn't send those people back to Earth, nobody else is going to try to go up there.
Well, they're not evil for the most part, I think.
That's the problem.
So
it doesn't make sense. So they're evil, but they're not evil.
So the unstated political plot of Elysium is that the current president is a reasonable man who who's of the incredibly sane opinion that you can't kill people for trying to do whatever they can to save their children.
And at the same time, he has the entire power to save the children.
Let me tell you a funny thing about the fucking political agenda with this movie. And how contrived and condescending it was from the very beginning to the very end.
Yeah.
And I am so very, very mad about it.
May I attempt to state it in 2 quick sentences, and you can tell me if you agree with it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Preposition 1, America is Africa. Proposition 2, Elysium is America.
No. Earth is super ethnic minority Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And Elysium is America. You were half right.
No, that's what he meant to say.
Okay.
He meant the America where the Earth part of the movie takes place is Africa.
Yeah, but the entire Earth is super Africa.
The entire Earth is super Africa.
Yeah.
And everyone is an ethnic minority. Everyone.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm very loud.
Yeah. So,
So mad. Yeah.
the point being that the people, and I think it's the part of the movie they should have explored more, was this one president didn't want to stop people from coming to Elysium.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, he wanted to stop them because they have to, because maybe they don't have the resources or whatever, which they never mentioned.
He wanted to stop them without blowing them up.
Yes.
That's all we know.
And then Space Hitler says we need to militarily arm ourselves to force people from Earth not to come here by shooting them if they try.
So it's like the Berlin Wall.
I don't know.
Huh.
But then before a certain point, they actually shot anyone who tried to go by.
I think
it's over.
I think that those couple sentences are all we really need to say about this movie's political contrivances, because they don't run very deep, and they don't get explored very much. I don't feel.
And
like
they make some very generalizing, sweeping statements just like at the very end.
Yeah, it wasn't very nuanced at all.
No, it was. It was like, take this.
I don't know. When you feel like you're being lectured to by a movie, it's kind of a turnoff. Like, movies can teach you things and they can serve as social commentary, but the moment where it feels like it's reaching out and grabbing your collar and shaking you and saying, you feel bad, when you feel the manipulation in an unnatural way rather than the movie relating its points to you organically, that's when you start to fight back as an audience member, and I felt that a lot during this film.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get to the point where Max knows he's going to die. He's got the miracle pills that will allow him to function normally as he's dying. Wow, what a coincidence. That's very convenient for the rest of the plot.
So it puts a really nice timeline on the movie so that he can justify a lot of stupid decisions with, I only have 5 days.
Right.
And then,
So he goes to see his old boss. Not his old boss. The
CEO
gang leader.
of that company.
The gang leader
well,
he used to work for.
kind of his old boss.
Kind of his old boss. He used to steal cars for him or whatever. He's going to see him because this guy is the guy that organizes all these flights up to Elysium of the desperate people. And he, of course, makes tons of bank doing it because people will pay everything they have in order to get a chance to live. So Max goes in and says, give me a ticket. Oh my God, I need a ticket. And the guy's like, can't do it, man. And then Max is like, I'm dying. He's like, oh, well, in that case, I have this, death wish of a job for you that might just be right up your alley. And they go to stick the exosuit on him. And I feel like that's the most contrived thing in the entire movie. The exosuit seems to serve no purpose other than to make good trailer bait.
Well, it's quite literally a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
In the middle of the movie, not even at the end, because it allows him to do everything.
Yeah.
Between that and the medicine, he can do everything a normal person would do.
You
Assuming they were not dying of radiation and cancer.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, need to fight robots?
Man, 5 days? You know what? You got 20 minutes at the very end of that where you won't be able to function. Everything else, fine.
Yep. But the most contrived nature of this whole thing is, this is going to give you super strength and super speed, but you don't have any extra support on your feet, and you don't have any extra support for your fingers. So every time he punches somebody with his super strength, his bones are taking the entire thrust of that super-powered punch, which would break his fingers. Of course, the gloves, that did it.
Yes.
And when Kruger jumps 12 feet in the air, his legs took all the force it took to launch him. Muscles and bones were being forced at superhuman speeds to contract and push himself up by the exosuit pistons. And that just did. And then later, he gets out of the car by using his fingers to bend the door. What the fuck does the exosuit have to do with his fingers being able to bend metal?
No.
God damn it,
I
hate this movie.
That is the entire... That whole thing, the moment I saw them, surgically attaching that, I immediately went back to, a series of videos where that I was watching for one of my material science classes that I had to take as part of my biomedical engineering degree, and I'm like, excuse me, no, but no, that's no. You don't just bolt an exoskeleton into the bones.
No, that's
You
the
don't!
thing. They used a screwdriver to screw the bolts in.
Well-
It's like they were changing the tires on a NASCAR. It's like
well,
into
if
his back.
If I may, car movies seem really popular recently.
Yes, let's change the entire premise
No,
of this to
we-
a car
well-
movie, and we'll just have him be a car.
The thing is, we saw before this movie a trailer for a movie
Rush.
about a movie about Formula One. Ron Howard's Formula One movie. Ron Howard's name is in the title because
Yeah.
that's a thing now apparently. Like the butler, it's somebody's the butler
Yeah.
that's coming. Anyway, they really treated him like a stock car.
They did.
They just put him up on a platform and just raised up the jack and.
I mean,
Exactly like that.
there's a reason we can't just bolt metal things to human body usually. It's because the human body does an awful lot of moving, and
Well-
there's a reason that things in the body stretch. They're elastic. Skin is
But
not
even on
static.
that level-
Bones will bend before they break. Metal doesn't do that.
But I'm about to say, that's the exact reason you can't do that, is you put a metal bolt in there, and that metal bolt is a lot stronger than the bone around it.
Uh-huh.
So if that thing slips back or forward, it's just going to start shaving off parts of the bone.
Yes.
And 5 days, you're going to need like a month to heal from that.
That's okay. He has
Well,
those magical healing pods.
That's the thing.
That I'm
The-
like, okay,
the-
yes, you broke your arm. You now have 5 days left to live with cancer, and you seem to be okay. And
Well,
you just had surgically attached to you by some backroom kidney doctors. An entire exoskeleton made of what is some pretty serious metal. I'm Matt
Yeah.
Damon. I'm okay. I'm gonna take this.
I mean,
Not only did they bolted it on him over his t-shirt. They didn't even cut the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Just like drive right through it. No problem. Just drill through
He
the
didn't
t-shirt.
change his shirt the whole 5 days.
No, no.
Or his pants. Nothing.
No. But
well, now we're turning into, I guess, the do you ever see them poop? No, I'm not gonna go down that road because
So-
you can make the argument for every movie.
I think
I would rather not.
We've talked about the exoskeleton. It's a stupid Deus Ex
Yes.
Machina thing, but it's part of the movie where you get to and you go, okay, these guys didn't care about this movie. The rest of the movie now, we can probably assume, is going to be filled with stuff that's just going to make you go, what? Like the stupid thing in his head. Why does it have to be in his head? It appears to be a computer system that you just plug into the other guy's computer system and then transfer the data. Why does it have to be in his head?
Well, so the idea, I believe, was that the data was being stored inside of your brain.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that was the implication, was you use the brain as a hard drive to store or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, no. I'm not
Once
even
you get it out
even
of
going to
the-
go down that
Once
road.
you get it out of the other guy's brain, though, why do you have to store it in Matt Damon's brain? Put it on a
And-
fucking USB stick. They've got to be like 17 terabytes by this point.
Oh man, and the
Well-
transfer rate of something stuck in the brain? Man, that shit's fast, dude.
And they
Yeah.
put
Parallel
it
processing.
into a computer at the end too.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, you make a good point.
Like, it's not like the movie doesn't show us that it's compatible with computers. It does.
Yeah.
They need to put this thing. All right, so we should explain what this guy has because it drives the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
Evil Space Hitler has convinced the owner of the company that Matt Damon works for, and this company makes the robots and all the systems
The
for
police
Elysium.
robots and the ones
Super
that are
corporation.
using them.
Just
Yes.
Megacorp
Yeah,
Incorporated.
Megacorp Incorporated. He writes a reboot program that will instantiate this woman as the new president of Elysium, and she can run it like a police state.
Right.
That's essentially the thing that drives the rest of the movie. Is Matt Damon's running away from people who want this. He knows he has it because he goes and talks to Spider.
Spider figures it out in 2 seconds by looking at hex characters.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So if I can speak for a second about the technology gaffes in this movie.
I
so
abstained for the
we-
programmer to speak.
Yeah, so I'm a software developer by trade. So I have some passing familiarity with how to write code.
Do you really? Do you?
And so a bunch of times they see a bunch of like hex characters like a bunch of little 2-character segments, which is a way of displaying a file in hex, 2 at a time, because 16 and 16 is 32. 32 is a nice convenient chunk. It's like, here's the first 32 bytes, here's the second 32, blah, blah.
So on and so forth.
So it's... this displays on the screen for a second, and by looking at this, everyone in the movie except Matt Damon is able to go, that's a reboot program for Elysium.
That's why I had to think.
And that's when I went, to do that, you would have to know the instruction set that these bytes were being run against. Then have your mind act as the processor that's running these instructions and figure out what it does.
No, that's the thing. The bad guy, the corporation leader, must have just named the file the program to make a coup on Elysium.exe. That's just how it had to be.
Freaking Kruger even knew what it was just looking
at
it.
Kruger, a man of no scientific training we're ever told about, or any computer training we're ever told about, who's a mercenary, he knows.
He knows what it is. He's like, you know what this does, guys? Yeah.
So everyone in this movie is a computer savant, a level which
they know every single architecture of everything that has been implemented in a system they have never actually seen.
Yes. So anyway, Matt Damon's got this information in his head.
I'd like to say why it's important that we're complaining about this really quick. Which in most movies, technology is like ancillary in most action films. This is a science fiction action movie, so
this is the core of the plot.
So you expect them to get some of the science right.
Right, because many of the actions they take are based on the technology that we're talking about.
All kinds of really interesting sci-fi is based on taking things that aren't technically possible, or at least aren't possible now, and using it to explore an interesting part of the human condition. What happens if we have a source of infinite energy? What happens if we have faster-than-light travel? There are all kinds of sci-fi universes that take these things for granted that we think,
Yeah, they're just utilities.
Exactly.
They don't... They exist to tell a story rather than...
Yeah, or they exist to explore what we would do with infinite energy. If it would make us better people if we could power everything that we needed for everything all the time. In this movie, the technology is important because wealth equals access to technology, and this magical technology gives you infinite life and
infinite lounging life on like a paradise island ring thing.
Yes, and
the torus actually is what they called it, right? The torus.
Well, that's the name of the geometric shape.
Right, the shape of Elysium. Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, think of a donut is a torus. It's a circle if you like spin it through space like this.
It's cylinder bent back around on itself. Anyway, the whole point of this is now they have Matt Damon go and he accomplishes the job at great cost. Poor Julio falls. Like, we didn't see that coming 10 miles away.
Alas, poor Julio.
Alas, poor Julio.
We knew you barely at all.
We really didn't. They didn't let us get to know him. He doesn't have a wife and kids, of course, because if he did, then we'd feel bad about his death.
But Matt Damon cared about him.
Oh, yeah. So that gives him...
For about 4 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, he's really not in it much. He's kind of helpful.
So then...
I felt a little bit bad about Julio.
So then at this point, Matt Damon gets the information about this reboot takeover coup program out of the corporation guy's head. Corporation guy dies. But the other piece of this is that the software is supposedly encrypted with something that prevents you from extracting it from Matt Damon's head without killing him. But for some reason, you could get it out of the corporation leader's head.
Well, he was dying anyway.
I guess he was dying anyway, but still.
But it kills Matt Damon like that.
Yeah.
Instantly.
But at the same time, they've read the code! They've seen it on the screens!
I'm going to go ahead and say that's not all of it, first of all, and...
So, okay, it's encrypted so that you only can get half of it. Half of it is encrypted, I guess. So the part that's unencrypted is enough to indict you for conspiracy to take over Elysium. But the rest, no, you can't have the rest.
I'm just tired of talking about it. I don't think anything more needs to be said on how terrible the technology, both mechanical and software, is in this whole movie.
So anyway,
The climax of this movie was way too long, and it had a bunch of really dopey fight scenes in it. There was a plane crash, and a guy's face got blown off with the violence seemed really gratuitous at points.
Yeah, they really, like, keyed in on, like, man, look at this really cool, like, technology we can use, and look how it, like, blows off this guy's 3 limbs in different directions.
Yep.
Yeah.
They love doing that.
At least 3 different people had explosives thrown on them that, I believe the term is gibbing in video games, where people explode into meat chunks.
That happened.
This movie was a big fan of gibbing.
That was this movie's Flip Ninja. Unnecessary Flip Ninja.
Yes,
I think.
because I think 3 different people get exploded in that fashion.
Yep.
And then another one, only his face.
Yep.
So after a bunch of really gratuitous violence and things being destroyed on Elysium, we get to all of the rich people run away, and Matt Damon sacrifices himself for his girlfriend, and we get what's supposed to be the emotional catharsis of the movie, which, let me explain the setup. Matt Damon gets healed at one point by Frey, the ex-girlfriend, after stealing the information. She heals up a knife wound that he had, and he's trying to leave, and the daughter comes up to him, and he starts telling him the story about a meerkat, and the meerkat couldn't reach the food, aka medicine, because all of the bigger animals were boxing him out for all of the food. So the meerkat goes and makes a friend with Matt Hippo Damon, and by standing on the hippo's head, the meerkat is able to get the food. And Matt Damon's like, look, kid, let me tell you, it doesn't work out well for the meerkat, because at this point he thinks he's the meerkat.
Right.
And then he asks her, why does the hippo help? And she goes, the hippo just wants a friend. And I leaned over to Adam in the theater and went, thank you, Allegory Girl.
Yes.
That would be enough. You can now go back to being a thing that...
A prop.
Yes, you can
For
now...
the rest of the movie. Because for the rest of the movie, all she's done is carried around. The rest of the movie,
they're literally...
she's carried around and scared.
She's the only drive for Frey the entire movie.
So now, they've gotten Frey into one of these med bays, which won't work for her because she's not a citizen of Elysium. But Spider is going to help Matt Damon upload the thing in his brain to Elysium's computer, and instead of resetting it so that Hitler's president, they're doing it so that everyone's a citizen of Elysium.
I thought for sure Spider was going to become president and make it a better place for everyone.
See, that's the logical thing for him to have done. Why didn't he do both?
I don't know.
Anyway.
He just said, nobody's president! Or he didn't change it.
So Spider hands Matt Damon the keyboard, he's holding the keyboard, he just has to hit enter, and he's going to kill himself and make everyone in the world a citizen. But first they're busting down the door, and it looks like they're right about to get in. But there's still a moment to call up Frey on the walkie-talkie and go like, tell your daughter, I know why the hippo did it now. And it was...
so corny.
It was supposed to be the moment where you were like, you go, Matt Damon, you are the hippo.
And you're supposed to have a single tear rolling down your face going, oh.
Except you realize that you're saying, Matt Damon's the hippo? And it failed to connect on an emotional level where you can take the metaphor for what it was, because it was so obvious it felt insulting.
Yes! Yeah. And I thought for sure that the movie was going to be... Like, it was getting so bad at this point. I thought the movie was going to get worse, and they were going to do a cop-out where Matt Damon somehow survived. Like, they were going to rush him to a medical thing, and the medical thing was going to save him, and then he was going to live happily ever after. Like, that would be a complete cop-out of the whole movie.
No,
but at least they didn't do that.
Once Matt Damon Alt F4s, he's gone for good. Yeah. And... everyone on Earth is now an Elysium citizen, and Elysium apparently monitors every person on the planet's vital signs simultaneously, which is important because at some points in the movie, key figures on Elysium are injured, and the computer neglects to tell anyone that the defense minister has been stabbed and a coup is about to start. No, that's not important. But, like, for some reason, when the rich guy on Earth gets, like, jostled around a little bit, like, his heart rate goes up, and they go, "A citizen is in danger," to like Mission Control Center of Homeland Security of all of Elysium.
One person is in terrible condition.
An Elysium
their
citizen
rescue.
is in danger. Send the robots.
No. He's not in danger. He's in danger of having a small upset stomach.
Yes. There's been a kerfuffle.
And you know they're monitoring everything because she has to engage that special mode when she plans the whole conspiracy. But you're right. Later on, she gets stabbed, and the computer's like, "Didn't see it coming. Didn't see it happen. I don't know."
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention right now. There's a cool fight going on over here.
No, but
I can't see anything.
The computer was paying attention because remember later on the HUD pops up and says she's deceased.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was like, by the way, you have one new message in your inbox, and it's like, oh, I'm not going to check this right now. And then later on, somebody was like, I should have read this a while ago.
Critical error. Attend to immediately. Whoops.
So it looks at everyone on Earth, and it says, wow, there's a lot of people down there who need medical attention. Dispatch the life pods. and all of these, like... At probably around 100 ships, it looked like, land on different points around the Earth, and they open up, and I go, oh, are they going to take people to Elysium?
Mm-hmm.
And is everyone going to be looting rich people houses now? To steal their med pods? And it's like, no. They have tens of hundreds...
Each med pod had like 20 med pads, and it takes only like literally 20 seconds to do the healing.
Yeah, to heal everything. And they
you can do a whole city in like a month.
Yeah, so they dispatched 2,000 of these all over the world, and you have to think, what was stopping them from doing this?
No, but see, that's where the
liberal
entire
agenda.
political agenda ties in at the end. Is they're like, oh man, we're Elysium, we got all these fancy things, we're not sending them down there because we're assholes.
Well, it's like because you have to pay us, so
Or something like that, and then it's like...
the implication is like, you have an unlimited resource, because they never mention it's limited, that you could give to these poor people at any time, and shame on you for asking for money for this thing that's obviously unlimitedly free-flowing. And that's such a gross oversimplification of the state of world affairs that
That was where my last straw was broken. At that point, I'm like, okay, and then I was just furious.
The movie immediately dropped 3 or 4 points in my head on like a 10-point scale.
Yeah.
At that point, like the first, like you said, the first 20-25 minutes, I was like, okay, this is like a 7, maybe an 8 even, depending on how it ends. Then by the halfway point, I'm like, okay, maybe it's a 6. And then by the climactic fight with Matt Damon and the final setup where he presses enter to kill himself and save everybody, I'm like, all right, maybe it's a 5. And then as soon as they show those med pods going out there and break the rest of the consistency that they've had, I'm like, okay, you just dropped 3 more points. Now you're at 2. Mm-hmm. Just instantly, by making that a thing, you have broke so much faith with the viewer about this movie's reality and the universe that it lives in. Oh.
Alright, so, doing a quick wrap of this movie, acting, what do you think overall? Matt Damon was pretty good?
Matt Damon was Matt Damon. He did exactly what I expected him to.
I didn't like Frey too much. I didn't like the kid who played the daughter too much.
I
didn't like any of our bad guys except Kruger was
was fun. I enjoyed Kruger. The character he was supposed to be up until like before he decides he needs to be El Presidente. Like, I'm okay with this. I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's doing the right character that he's set up to be.
I'm entirely sure the movie drove him crazy, and that's why he was such an asshole.
It must have. Like, he suddenly read the script like the day before he read it, and suddenly, bam, snapped in his head, went insane.
Yep. So
then he rewrote the entire movie after that.
The visual effects were very impressive. Mm-hmm. As much as I was totally disinterested in the actions and some of the technology in this universe, they did do a decent job of generating a fairly interesting sci-fi universe in certain pockets. There were a lot of nice little touches,
right?
Which is always good to see in your big budget sci-fi movie, that you spend the time to spend money on the little things,
right?
Camera work was either really good or incredibly poor, depending on whether they were shooting people talking and walking around and showing you the cool technology, and then it falls off a cliff anytime anybody had to fight anybody.
Which is
I don't think I can recommend this to anybody, really.
No.
Because it's like there's too much gratuitous violence for it to be for younger people. There's not enough plot for it to be for older people.
The universe itself is so inconsistent, it will drive you crazy throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, with most action movies, I can say if you turn your brain off, it'll at least be fun.
Right.
I couldn't turn my brain off.
No, this movie's too long for it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's...
And the action wasn't satisfying enough anyway, and the characters weren't likable enough. Like, in a Lethal Weapon-style movie, the reason you can turn your brain off is because you like Riggs and Murtaugh. Right? You like those guys, their banter is funny, so you're like, okay, I'm buying into this because these guys are just cool, fun guys to watch. I didn't really care that much about Matt Damon. He wasn't doing a bad job with acting. The movie just did a poor job of sucking me in to care about him or his problems, and the fact that the universe was so poorly constructed, that's what I wanted focusing on instead.
He kind of had what I'm going to start calling the Wolverine syndrome, where our protagonist is unconscious a stupid portion of the movie. Like, Matt Damon's either injured, limping half-consciously, or unconscious so often you don't get to know him, as in the Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So that's going to do it for this week. Join us next week where we'll be seeing something else. I think Kick-Ass 2 comes out next week.
Does it? Yes.
It does, so... Hopefully
I will not be let down.
Hopefully something better next time. Signing off, Rob.
Adam.
Ryan.